Listen twice without subtitles. Then listen once with text. After that, retell the story out loud or in writing. Don't forget the vocabulary below. Ready?
On Halloween night, I drove out to Briar Manor with my camera and a thermos of strong coffee. The road curved through black fields and rain tapped the windshield like impatient fingernails. I had promised my Gothic blog a special post, and the manor had sat abandoned for years, gathering legends and ivy. When I parked beneath the crooked elms, the old house lifted out of the mist, gray as a cloud and just as distant. My breath curled in the cold air. I checked my batteries, zipped my jacket, and told myself I was only hunting good pictures tonight. Grass brushed my boots as I followed the cracked path to the veranda. The eaves hung low, heavy with rot, and gutters rattled in the wind. I lifted the camera and took a wide shot of the facade, for context and mood. Water ran in threads down the carved stone, glistening like veins. The front door was swollen and would not budge, so I circled right, where broken windows gaped like mouths. I kept my gloves on and stepped through carefully, flashlight tucked under my chin. Dust rose around me, and the house exhaled a smell like wet paper inside. The entrance hall was a long ribcage of timber and shadow. At the end, a staircase arched up, its rails gnawed by time. I set the tripod, adjusted the frame, and took 3 shots, one long for the dim corners. My breath echoed in the lens hood, and the shutter sounded too loud. I moved on into a room with a fallen chandelier, then to a parlor where a fireplace was stuffed with leaves. Every wall bloomed with damp. I took pictures of peeling wallpaper that looked like maps to nowhere, and of a cracked mirror reflecting my small light. I kept waiting for something dramatic, but the house gave only slow noises. Boards ticked, the wind hummed in the flue. Somewhere, a door banged and then settled. I climbed the stairs, careful to test each tread. On the landing, a window stood open on the overgrown lawn, and rain misted across the sill. I took a shot to capture the gray view and the dark sweep of the banister. Another long exposure. In the second-floor rooms, I found a child's shoe, a cane, a picture frame, without a picture. I took photos, labels already composing in my head. By the time I reached the attic door, my coffee had cooled and the rain had grown harder. The ceiling here sloped low and the beams were wet where the roof failed. I took one last set of frames, including the gables and the eaves outside, seen through a broken pane. Then I checked my watch. The blog did not need everything tonight. It needed the mood, the promise. I packed my bag, wiped my lens with the corner of my shirt, and backed out of the hushed house. The path to the car shone like a river in starlight. I took a final exterior shot from the gate, my umbrella fighting the wind. The whole building looked tired, yet proud, like a sailor after a long storm. I told it goodnight under my breath, a habit from too many lonely shoots. The ride back felt short, as if the road was helping me along. Streetlights smeared across the wet glass, and my mind jumped ahead to editing. My phone buzzed with comments from readers, hungry for darkness. At home, I kicked off my boots, made toast, and set the camera on the desk, patient as a sleeping cat. I copied the files to my laptop and opened the first batch. The images were sharp and full of detail, which pleased me. I adjusted the contrast, soothed the highlights, and deepened the blacks until the wood grain looked like night water. In an early shot, the veranda showed clear lines of rot, and a single nail on the railing caught the light like a star. I nodded. The tone was right. I clicked forward, thinking of a title and of the comments that would come when the post went live. Then, in the third set, something new pressed forward. The photo of the eaves was not empty. Not at all. Under the eaves, a shadow leaned where I had seen only drip and rot. It had shoulders and a bent head, the outline of an old coat. I had stood there. I would have noticed. I told myself it was a stain and clicked to the window shot. Rain streaked the pane, and my reflection sat pale in the glass. But there was a hand on the glass, placed higher than mine, flat as if pressing to come through. I felt heat climb my neck, then deny it all. I backed away from the desk, but the next thumbnail waited for me, tiny and patient. The archway of the entrance hall, seen from the stairs, should have been just darkness. Instead, a figure stood in the archway so still, as if carved into the shadow. When I zoomed in, I saw the slope of a shoulder and the edge of a long face. The eyes were not visible, but the feeling of being watched rose like a column. I checked the timestamp. It matched my memory. I kept telling myself there must be a trick of light somewhere. Then I reached the final frame, the one I always take for closure. A simple farewell shot of the front steps, usually empty. This time the frame showed the entrance, but filled with me. I stood in the doorway, soaked as if the rain had become a curtain, smiling in a way that looked borrowed. Water dripped from my hair. My hand was lifted, and in that hand was a key, long and old, bright with wet. I never took a key. I never saw one. I stared so long my tea went cold and the room changed temperature around. I checked the metadata, hoping for a mistake. The shutter speed fit my habit. The time matched the rain that had chased me home, and the file number followed the others. How had the camera seen me if I had been the one holding it? I had used the tripod in the hall, yes, for the long exposures, but I had not aimed the lens back at the door. I had not smiled. I had not lifted any key. The apartment felt quiet. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere in the stairwell, someone laughed. I glanced toward my coat, heavy with damp. I told myself to sleep on it and write the post in the morning. I reached to close the laptop, and that was when I heard a light tap on the desk, like metal greeting wood. The camera strap slid an inch, as if pulled by a small tide. Beside it lay a key, long and old, bright with wet. A curl of water moved toward the keyboard. I did not touch it. I looked at the last photo. There I was at the entrance, soaked, smiling. My face bent toward the screen. My hand lifted as if remembering me.